Hello everyone, Adrienne here. So today we are doing kind of an impromptu Q&A video. I've not done one of these in a while and I thought, you know what, it's a good time to do it. I have a couple of other videos that are in the works at the moment, but I do not want to rush them because if I rush anything, I feel like I'm going to leave something out or it'll be subpar, and I want to make sure it is of the utmost quality that I can provide to you guys that you will be able to enjoy. So one of them is comparing smear campaigns between the absinthism scare of the late 19th century, early 20th century, and the smear campaign against marijuana that began in 1936. So that's what I will be doing for one of those videos. Another one of those videos is going to be a book review of a book that I am very close to finishing, but I think you guys will enjoy. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with these questions. Oh, by the way, my engagement ring arrived, and in case you guys are wondering about the design, it is by a company called Sapphire Studios, and it has skulls and roses on it. I absolutely love it, and Kenny likes it too, and everyone I have shown it to is just like, oh my god, Adrienne, that is so you. Which, it's really nice to hear that. I appreciate that so much. So the first question is from Cobra Occultismus. Cool name, kind of. They say, what do you think about occultism? I definitely think occultism is fascinating. I love reading about the history of occultism. I do some research about occultism. I do believe in the supernatural, so honestly, a lot of people will define occultism as several different things, but I hope that kind of answers your question. So then MJ Nault 12 asks, favorite metal bands? I would say it's a very short list, so let's just say Daria's solo work that she's done since she left Nightwish. I really love what she's done with that. She's taken it to an entire new level and given it a more gothic vibe, and I really, really enjoy that. And then Nightwish, of course, Mortemia, Tristania, let me think here. And I would definitely say Leaves Eyes is another metal band that I do really, really enjoy. And yeah, those are all that I can think of off the top of my head that I really, really, really gravitate toward and really enjoy. So, yeah. Short list, and of course you'll probably notice a common thread among them, that they are all symphonic metal. Shocker. And Galed's BF, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, I'm so sorry, asks, do you think you could do a video about your absinthe collection, including accessories and etc.? So, I have done a video about my absinthe spoon collection, which was very, very highly requested because people really liked what they saw of my absinthe collection for my absinthe reviews. So, eventually, yes, I will be doing a video on my absinthe accoutrement, as well as the bottles of absinthe I still have hanging around because I keep getting sent bottles of absinthe, and hardly anyone around here drinks absinthe. Kenny doesn't care for it much, so I'm pretty much the only one. So... yes, I will definitely do a video like that in the future. So the Morphing Artist asks, do you like Oscar Wilde's character? So you talking about the person? Are you talking about Dorian Gray? I'm slightly confused by that question. I do find Oscar Wilde as a historical figure to be very, very fascinating. There are certainly a lot of interesting aspects to his life, but I really don't understand what you mean by that question, so I'm sorry. Alright, Creatrix Woman asks, do you ever pair absinthe with meals, and if so, which meals, like wine pairing? So the thing, I've gotten asked this question a couple of times. So when it comes to absinthe, absinthe is designed to be an aperitif, or aperitivo in Italian, and basically what that means is it's a drink to be had before a meal because it was initially developed as a digestive aid. So people who had stomach issues or digestive issues would use absinthe to help quell those issues, which was pretty cool. So then when it became mass-produced and became really popular, it became an aperitif. So when something's an aperitif, it's had before a meal. I personally, because it is an aperitif, prefer to have it before dinner or after dinner. Not necessarily during a meal, but if I am going to eat it with something, I think it would go really, really well with dark chocolate. But that's just me. I love dark chocolate. Oh, it's so good. Kenny and I actually got some chocolate yesterday in Coopville from the shop called the Honey Bear. Oh man, that seafoam chocolate is to die for. So good. But yeah, if I'm going to pair it with anything, it's going to be chocolate, but I would just rather not pair it with any kind of full meal because of the way that it is designed. It is an aperitif. It is a digestive aid. So, Witch Soul asks, what aesthetics inspire you? So, obviously, as you guys can probably tell from my set, I really, really do love the Victorian era. I really love the Belle Époque artistic movement. As you can see from the nude statue behind me, that's very Belle Époque. And same thing with the Absinthe advertisement that is behind me, that is from 1896. So again, that's a really awesome example of Art Nouveau, which was probably the biggest artistic movement during the Belle Époque era. And then obviously I have Donizetti behind me, my favorite composer, and this gorgeous green lamp behind me. Again, that's kind of another nod to the Victorian era. There are these antique green lamps that I really, really like, but they are so hard to get a hold of. I really wish I could add them to my collection. But those kinds of, like, I guess they're called parlor lamps, like Victorian green parlor lamps. I really, really, really like those, and I've been searching far and wide to find one of those, and I've just not had the best luck. So definitely want to add that to my collection of antique knickknacks. Now, as far as clothing and style, I would definitely say I really love 90s goth. I love romantic goth style. I really like Victorian goth, obviously. And I will openly admit that I do like some aspects of new goth fashion, particularly with occult symbols and imagery and star maps and celestial designs and things like that, such as what I'm wearing here. It's kind of like a constellation map thing. It's from Rogan Wolf. I just got it in the mail today. Really like it. But I like occult imagery when it is used respectfully, and I really like the way that Rogan Wolf do that. So it's a mishmash of those different things, and it's really nice to have variety. It's really nice to broaden your horizons and to not pigeonhole yourself. It's pretty great. Blackie Chan 61 asks, have you ever listened to Phantasmagoria by The Damned? If so, did you enjoy it? Yes, it is actually one of my favorite albums by The Damned because it's just so theatrical and dramatic, and as you can probably tell from what you know about me, I am very theatrical and somewhat dramatic. And I really love that opening with the pipe organ. That's just so nice. And that kind of goes to prove that goth didn't just come out of a vacuum, and you know, it wasn't invented by just one person who declared it its own thing. You know, it was inspired by aesthetics from the past. And that's a perfect example of it coming from the 80s. Okay, Sarah Zoonick asks, how to live life on your own terms and not care about others' opinions. So I do think that others' opinions do matter to a degree, but in my opinion, I think that the opinions of those who love you and care about you and support you really do matter. Like Kenny, for instance, I do ask for his opinion when I do video ideas or think of different ideas for videos. I consult my friends about it. Sometimes I consult my voice teacher about certain things. Like when I was getting ready to do my musical debut with Beauty and Chaos, I did consult her about it, and she was super excited for me and said, do it, girl, do it. So I do somewhat rely on other people's opinions, but it's the opinions of people that I care about that support me no matter what and can kind of keep me grounded. But for people who are going to call me a bitch for calling out misconceptions about certain things, whether it be about Absinthe or about Gothic literature or about the Goth subculture, then I really don't care about their opinions. Because honestly, they're gonna say that anyone's a dick or a bitch for bashing misconceptions, because the misconceptions are so much more fun, aren't they? So I care about the opinions of those who support me, not necessarily those who are gonna be petty and bash me on really unimportant, stupid stuff. Okay, so Lenora Rose, hi honey, asks, congratulations on your engagement. What do you want to do for your wedding? And then another friend of mine also asked me about that. She said, I'm dying to hear your wedding details, from Lauren Helmstead. And oh my god, she's such a doll. I love her. Her new baby is just so cute. But anyway, I will answer both of these questions combined. So as far as wedding plans are concerned, Kenny and I have come to a decision that we both want a really simple, small, quiet wedding. Nothing too crazy. The most definitive thing that we have planned so far is that we want to have our wedding on Deception Pass Beach. If you've not seen what Deception Pass looks like on Whidbey Island, it is absolutely beautiful. I seriously think it's one of the most beautiful places on earth. If you have seen my photo shoot where I'm on the beach or on some cliffs or stuff like that, that was taken on Deception Pass. I love Deception Pass, and mind you, I'm not a person to go hiking whatsoever, but Deception Pass makes me enjoy hiking. I hate hiking, but I love Deception Pass. So that should tell you how beautiful of a place it is. So we want a small, simple ceremony on Deception Pass. I'm not going to go too crazy on a wedding dress. We're not going to go too crazy on a reception. We're probably just going to have a potluck. You know, very little stress involved with that. And as far as our honeymoon is concerned, we are actually going to be going to Pontarlier, France next year after we get married. So the reason why we're going to Pontarlier in particular is, for one reason, for a honeymoon, and two, for that particular location is because the owner of the Pierre Guy distillery actually contacted me. He's the owner of La Pontesalienne, and that's one of my favorite absinthe brands ever. It's so gorgeous. Oh, I just love it. And he said he really enjoyed my review, and he said that he would love to see me at the Absinthes next year in July, not as a guest at the festival, but as a judge. It's really awesome to know that people in the absinthe world who live near the birthplace of absinthe are liking the idea of me being a judge at an absinthe festival. That's amazing. There are definitely some changes I want to make in selecting absinthes, because some friends of mine told me that there are a couple of shady things that go on, but I'm going to put a stop to that. I want everything to be fair. So for those two reasons, that's why Kenny and I are going to be going to Pontarlier, France for our honeymoon. It's going to be great. I've always wanted to go to France. I've never been to France. Kenny's only been to France for a layover during a flight he was taking many years ago, but I'm so looking forward to it. It's going to be so fucking cool. All right, Shadow Phoenix 129 asks, looking for a good read, any suggestions? So the book I'm very close to finishing right now is called The Bloody Chamber and Other Stories by Angela Carter. Oh my god. If you're a really big fan of darker versions of traditional fairy tales, this is a really, really good book for you. The title story of this particular book is called The Bloody Chamber, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was amazing. It's a really good combination of, I guess, Rebecca as well as Crimson Peak. So those two movies really came to mind when I was reading this book, and I really, really loved it. So yes, The Bloody Chamber and Other Stories by Angela Carter. Okay, James Clark Erdnays asks, anyone you recommend to follow on Instagram from the goth subculture? Absolutely. So I would definitely recommend Angela Benedict. She's gorgeous, and she's like the big sister I've always wanted, and I absolutely adore her. Victoria Fashion is another one. Really, really just incredible beauty, and another Latina in the goth subculture. Really great. I would also really recommend following Beauty and Chaos. I would recommend following Ashton Knight of The Awakening. Really, really awesome. Her Despair is another band I would recommend following on Instagram. Also follow Rachel Drummond. She's amazing. I love how often she wears my eyeshadow collection, and she rocks it so well. Love you, girl. I love what you do with my collection. It's just amazing. Another one I recommend is my friend Lord Marby 1998. He's really good. He's also a goth, and we've had a lot of discussions about both absinthe and wine, and it's pretty great. But yeah, so those are some recommendations that I can make for other goths to follow on Instagram. Absolutely. And then my friend Ashley Morgan. Ashley, I love you. Haven't talked to you in a while, but I do love you. You're amazing. She asked, what's a good absinthe for a newbie to try? So one thing I've noticed in the absinthe tastings that I have conducted in recent months is they really like sweeter and more mellow absinthes. So for example, La Clandestine is a really, really good beginner absinthe. It's a blanche, and because it is a blanche, it is a bit on the sweeter side. It can probably be tolerated without a sugar cube by a newbie, probably. As far as a green absinthe to try, it may sound a little bit weird because this one naturally does fall on the bitter side, but a lot of the newbies that I have introduced to absinthe have really enjoyed La Phantasmagoria. It is heavier on the wormwood and therefore has a little bit more tangle on the tongue and has a little bit more of a bite to it. But what the newbies tend to enjoy about it is that it is very smooth and has a really pleasant texture and a really wonderful flavor profile. So La Phantasmagoria and La Clandestine, those two I definitely recommend for newbies. Now, you may have an easier time getting a hold of La Clandestine than you will getting a hold of La Phantasmagoria. I will leave links for both in the description below. If you have a Total Wines near you, you can probably find La Clandestine. So that's probably the best that I would recommend to start out with. Yeah, Ashley is really awesome. She likes to watch my absinthe videos, and sometimes she asks me about absinthes that I've tried in the past and the preparation process and everything. It's awesome. Sorry, I just love talking about absinthe. Hashtag not an alcoholic. So I also asked you guys on Twitter for questions to submit for today's video. And my friend Alan PDX asks, what are your top 5 or 10 recommended absinthes? I'll keep it easy and just do 5. I really love Jade 1901. That's probably going to be my number 1. La Phantasmagoria is probably my number 2. Double Verte, wonderful, just amazing. Heritage and Vieux Pontalier. So those are my top 5. Not necessarily in a particular order, just depends on the mood I'm in and what I'm feeling for that day. So those are my top 5 that I would recommend. Salma Hamid asks, what are your favorite stylistic aspects of 19th century fashion? So my favorite stylistic aspects of the 19th century would have to be corsets. I absolutely love corsets, black lace, and definitely a lot of intricate sheer patterns that are on a lot of Victorian blouses. Really slim profile. I really like that. So I definitely think I like that the most. My friend Michelle asks, current hair care and dye routine / products, skincare, favorite perfume, what album are you listening to on repeat, favorite movie lately, favorite junk food, how are you doing with the COVID restrictions, how is your cat? Precious is fine. She's wonderful. I love her. She's doing great. So current hair care and dye routine / products. So hair dyeing routine, I just use a lot of stuff to get from Sally's Beauty Supply by Ion Shine. That's probably my favorite brand for doing hair dyeing. And Kenny usually has to help me with dyeing my hair because it's gotten so long. So it literally takes 2 pairs of hands to dye my hair. It's crazy. As for skincare, I'm really still just relying on the Wake Up Beautiful Overnight Mask by Pacifica. That's my go-to. Favorite perfume? My favorite perfume would have to be Cemetery by Seance Perfumes. It's wonderful. What album are you currently listening to on repeat? I would have to say The Tragedy of Seconds Gone by Wiesborg. And I'm also listening to a lot of The Awakening, specifically Darker Than Silence. It's one of my favorite albums. Favorite movie lately? Kenny and I actually watched a couple of movies featuring an actor that he recently got me turned on to because he and I have been watching The Blacklist a lot and I just love that show. So great.
I heard my name.
Yeah.
What you talking about?
Talking about The Blacklist.
Oh, okay, that's a good show. That's a good show.
Kenny approved. So he and I watched a movie called Secretary. I'm sure some of you guys have probably heard of it. It's a really, really good movie. Kind of weird, but still a good movie. Favorite junk food lately? Oh dear. That's really hard. Hey honey, what kind of junk food have we been favoring lately? Yeah, like snacky food.
I have Fritos. By the way, I left just a little chili left. You could still have a chili rice burrito if you want.
Okay.
Potato chips.
Potato chips, definitely.
Mac and cheese. We had a lot of the boxed mac and cheese.
Boxed mac and cheese is just the ultimate comfort food.
And we went to Jack in the Box the other day, but that's, to be fair, we only had, it was the final day for those coupons. But
yeah, we went to Jack in the Box last week.
But
yeah, those are our favorite junk foods lately. I wouldn't necessarily call our smoked salmon junk food.
Oh God, no. No.
It's delicious.
The cheese and crackers aren't junk food.
No.
Do you even consider that?
Blasphemous.
Is this a Q&A video?
Yes.
Oh. Let me know if there's any questions for me.
I couldn't think of any junk food, so I had to consult you.
There you go. There's a question for me.
How are you doing?
We got the fancy chocolate now.
I mentioned that in the video earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then she also asked, how are you doing with the COVID restrictions? It kind of sucks not being able to go anywhere, and when you have to go somewhere, you have to wear a mask. But obviously, I feel better safe than sorry about going out with a mask and personal protective equipment. And with where I work now, I work in the service industry. I have the option of wearing personal protective equipment, and that's really nice because a lot of companies out there don't feel okay with allowing their employees to wear masks to work because it'll put off customers. It's really nice to know that they value the bottom line more than the safety of their employees. Fantastic. But yeah, we've just been really isolated here. I don't think we've really left the island much since the virus has started. And like I said, Precious is fine. She's doing great. Okay, Dominique Biernart, I'm so sorry. Dominique Biernart asks, do you always wear black clothes or just for making your videos? Yes, I always wear black. Sometimes I wear gray, but most of the time I wear black. My friend Rachel Drummond asks, what is the hardest part of making new content? The hardest part is deciding whether or not it's something that you guys want to see. Like I said, I do somewhat put some weight into the opinion of others, but I want to make sure that the effort that I put into a video is not wasted. So if it's something I'm passionate about or knowledgeable about with Absinthe, I don't have any issue discussing that. But if I want to go into some other kind of territory, it's just like, what do I do here? But again, in situations like that, what I do is I do talk with Kenny about it or talk with other friends who are on YouTube as well about what's going on. So kind of see if it's something that they'd be interested in saying. Now, one piece of advice that I do like giving to people when they're struggling with getting started on YouTube or they're in a creative rut or something like that, I always tell them, make the kind of content that you yourself would want to see. So that's what I did with Absinthe within the past year or so, and I'm really glad that I did that because I'm really glad that it's attracting an audience that I never thought I could have a chance with. It's pretty cool. Okay, Mad Tea Party 5150 asks, when will you release an album? ? I just had my debut release with Beauty and Chaos. If you guys want some more information about it, I will leave the link to my last video in the description below. But as far as releasing my own album, I've said this many times, I'm a performer, not a composer. So I often like to refer to myself as a performing monkey. I really don't feel comfortable with my own compositions and songwriting skills in order to put out an album exclusively of my own musical compositions. But that being said, I would feel a lot more comfortable doing like a classical music or an opera album devoted to my favorite opera arias that I love singing. I'm thinking of doing videos like that pretty soon. Once I get my voice a little bit more in shape, definitely like doing that. Memento Mori asks, what is your favorite warm-up to do before you perform? So one of the most important things that I do before I do any practice or do a performance is an ab workout. Because as a dramatic mezzo-soprano, you require a lot more strength than other voice types in order to execute your vocals. So I love doing ab workouts, and it sounds weird, but I also do some butt workouts every now and then, because when I'm reaching for high notes, I know this sounds so weird, but squeezing your butt cheeks helps to engage your abdominal muscles, and it helps you go for those high notes a little bit easier. I can't speak for if that works on other voice types or not, but if you aren't interested in singing, it's a good tip if you're having difficulty with high notes. And then other warm-ups is just what my voice teacher does every lesson. At the beginning of every lesson, you know, gotta do the warm-ups. Just easy little scales like that, and staccatos going up to the high C that she loves so much. Hell, my frustrated squeal that I do in my videos sometimes is a C#6. And how do I know it's a C#6? It's because one time I did that during a voice lesson, and my voice teacher is just like, do you know what note that is? And I'm like, I have no fucking clue. So she starts plucking around a couple of notes on the piano, and she's just like, that's a C#6. That's really high. Damn, okay. So, staccatos, ascending, and doing arpeggios, those are really, really good for getting consistency in your range. All right. Venus Doom asks, what was it like being able to review a 19th century absinthe? I mean, technically it was made in 1900, so I guess it's 20th century absinthe, but the fact that I was able to taste a piece of history from the year 1900, it was really, really surreal for me, I will admit. I kind of lost my shit a little bit. I was slightly teary-eyed in my video where I was tasting a 19th century made absinthe for the very first time. It was insane. It was really, really surreal, and I felt really privileged that I was able to taste something made at the end of the 19th century. It's so fucking cool. And a couple of other absinthe drinkers said what you had a chance to do was a privilege for great absinthe enthusiasts, and I'm glad that I think they said something along the lines of, I'm glad that you were bestowed this privilege instead of some drunken hooligan trying to get plastered. So I appreciate that. It was really, really surreal and special for me. I really hope I can get my hands on more pre-ban absinthe in the future so I can kind of broaden my horizons and get more accustomed to the scent and the taste of pre-ban absinthe so I can have a frame of reference to compare to modern absinthes now. So honestly, having had that taste of absinthe made in 1900, it really gave me a whole new appreciation for modern absinthes that try really, really hard to be traditional. It's pretty great. Hell, every now and then I still have a little bit left. I'm saving that for a special occasion. It's not going anywhere. Every now and then I go and I sniff the bottle because I just love the way it smells, and it just still smells so fresh even 100 years later. It's crazy. All right, last question. I've saved the best for last. Sinister Hand, also known as Sinister Empath on Twitter, asked this question. They asked, do you think you'd ever become a full-time vocalist for a goth band in the future? I think your voice would bring some much to the scene. Well, that is very sweet and very kind of you. I will say, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon because I know that honestly opera is not everyone's thing. I'm really hoping for a revival of goth music. Obviously, goth music is on the rise here now in the late 2010s and early 2020s here. I'm really excited that there is an upswing, but I think it'll take a little bit more time for people to get more accustomed to the idea of maybe incorporating an operatic singer into a goth band, like an actual goth band. So honestly, I will leave it up to bands out there that are already established to decide if they want me to join their band. That would be really, really awesome in my opinion. But yeah, hopefully it's in the stars for me. With my voice lesson that I had with my voice teacher last week, oh my god, it was so great. But she was really impressed with the progress that I had made since I moved away. And she said that she's ready to prepare me for auditioning for the Seattle Opera sometime in the next couple of years, and I'm so excited for that. I don't feel ready for it, but if she thinks that I'm capable of it, then I'll trust her. But as far as joining another goth band and becoming a vocalist for them, I'll leave it up to them to decide that. I'm not going to whore myself out and be like, let me be a part of your band. I would rather them naturally gravitate toward what I have to offer instead of having to necessarily be a people pleaser. Does that make sense? I hope so. All right, so that was my Q&A for today. I really appreciate you guys submitting your questions. I know it was a little bit impromptu, but I had a lot of fun answering your questions, and it was a good time. And it was nice to have Kenny here. Yeah. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I really, really appreciate it. You're amazing. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell for notifications if you haven't already. You guys are amazing. I love you, and I'll see you guys later.